Hello, and welcome to another Fantasy Premier League video. My name is Steve, and I activated my assistant manager chip in game week 31, and I actually opted to go with Oliver Glasner for 3 straight weeks in a row in order to preserve a transfer. So last week I was kind of tossing up between, I was definitely turning the assistant manager on, I was trying to figure out who to go for, and I decided that if I just went for Glasner and banked the transfer, that banked transfer would probably save me a hit leading up until game week 34 when I will be wildcarding. So I've got my assistant manager active from 31 to 33. It'll come off in 33. I'll be able to use my wildcard in 34, having used my free hit back in game week 29. So we banked the transfer, went for Oliver Glasner, and that was one of the most intense matches of football that I have seen in quite a while. It started off really well with Mateta scoring a peach of a goal for the opener just 3 minutes into the match. And it was assisted by Eze, who I also opted to go for in my team over Ismaili Sarr. It was a great start to the match. Had me a lot more comfortable with the Glasner pick early on in the match. Then, of course, Brighton equalised through Welbeck in the 31st minute, so it was short-lived with a deft finish front guiding a volley into the far post. Very hard shot to pull off. You have to have quite a lot of control to do that. That was drawing the game at that point. And then, of course, Munoz, who I opted to go against. The reason that I opted to go against Munoz is he does get a lot of opportunities in the match, but I did own him for large periods early on in the season and watched him get a lot of chances and just not be able to hit the target. Poor shot selection, um, mishitting balls, not going for the right play in certain situations. And so I decided to go double up in an attack and have Oliver Glasner as my third Palace player. And of course, it's Munoz that scores the winning goal, or what turns out to be the winning goal. His initial shot, though, was hit straight at the keeper and was rising. So it was going to be an easy save for the keeper if it managed to stay under the bar. But it deflects off Estupiñán's ass. That deflection changes the trajectory from going up to down without curl, and it sets it just outside the far post to make it swing back in at the far post to score the goal. Now, it was obviously pretty annoying that it was Munoz that got the goal, but that goal, of course, was worth at that point an additional 4 points to Glasner as he gains the extra 3 points for the win and 1 point for the goal. So it somewhat did limit the damage from those Munoz points. But in terms of the fixture, it got pretty hectic. In the 78th minute, Nketiah, who was earlier booked for simulation in the box, got his second yellow card for a high foot. Palace go down to 10 men with a 1 goal margin and 12 minutes of normal time remaining in the match. And then Mark Gahey gets his second yellow card in the 90th minute, putting Palace down to 9 men. So the 11 men of Brighton taking on the 9 men of Palace with a 1 goal lead and Oliver Glasner on the line. And then, of course, they chuck up that there's 12 additional minutes of stoppage time to be added on at the end of the game. It was pretty much just all defense from Palace. Van Hecker got his second yellow card in the 96th minute, bringing Brighton down to 10 men, but still with the 1-man advantage. And then in like the last minute of the game, 103rd minute, Henderson saves a shot from Ayari from point blank range. Should always be scoring that type of goal. He manages to get the save in, and Crystal Palace came away for the win. So from the Palace investment, Eze, Mateta, and Glasner all combined for 25 points out of my 64 points for the game week. Now, I spent 2 of my three transfers last week, and I bought in Livramento, targeting that Leicester fixture. I've actually been targeting Leicester for the last 3 game weeks, going Livramento last week. Who did I bring in the week before? Was it Marmouche? Might have been Marmouche the week before, and then Bruno Fernandes on the free hit in game week 29. It's all done very well. Livramento came away with an assist and a clean sheet, some bonus points to come off with 11 points. But my differential punt on Merino didn't quite work out as I was hoping, as Merino was moved deeper into midfield to allow Trossard to play up front in the Premier League. However, Merino then went and started up front against Madrid in the Champions League match with Trossard on the bench, showing that Arteta is definitely favouring Merino in the number 9, which is why I bought him. But I did not fully think through whether or not he would get rotated in lieu of the Champions League match. Would have been a very hard prediction to make either way. Merino still played. I think he got his 90 minutes under his belt. He had, I think, a headed chance in the match. That was about it. He was a bit too deep in the game. He did, of course, score in the Champions League as well. We'll touch on Merino a little bit later when we go into what I'm going to be doing with my team this week. So a little bit disappointed that he got dropped back. He came away with 2 points. Elsewhere in my team, I had Guardiola in the squad. Actually, I bought Guardiola in last week as well to target Leicester. He came away with some points there as well. This time he comes away with a 0-0 draw against Man United and maximum bonus points for a 9-pointer at the back. I did also think that Semenyo might be on penalties with Kluivert out and Evan Nielsen having missed his last penalty attempt, with Semenyo also taking a pen in I think it was the FA Cup when Evan Nielsen wasn't on the pitch. They did hold on to Semenyo in the hopes that he might be on pens. He did come away with a cheeky assist, which was great. Elsewhere, Arsenal conceded again. Liverpool conceding 3 goals. Van Dijk got absolutely done in that match as well. He seems to be falling off the pace. He had a bit of a mucky season this season, even a bit of a mucky season last season. Don't know really what's going on with Van Dijk there. Marmouche blanked, Salah blanked. I was but very nervous about the Isak coming up against Leicester in the final game of the week, with lots of captaincies going on Isak this week, but he also blanked, so it's much of a muchness there. Came away with 64 points, jumped up about 350,000 places, sitting just outside the million. It's been a long clawback from a horror start to the season. Could have been made so much better as well if I had have actually ended up with Rodgers on the pitch. Came away with a goal and 2 bonus in his 2-1 victory over Nottingham Forest. But all things considered, I'm super stoked with the week. We're climbing up the ranks, and the assistant manager got off to a great start, which is definitely what we needed, points in the bag. So, of course, the assistant manager is still active this week. The plan was to keep it on Glasner for all 3 game weeks. Now, there is a little bit of a consideration here. I mean, Crystal Palace will be without Nketiah and Gahey, obviously, because they are both suspended, having both been sent off in the Brighton fixture. But there are also some other injuries floating around in the Crystal Palace squad, with Lacroix and Richards both currently flagged. That is going to detriment the defense. They are coming up against Man City the first game. It's the first game of the game week. It's going to be a pretty tough ask. Of course, it is a table bonus fixture, and that is why I've got them in. So I'm really just looking for a draw or better here. The draw will still be good enough points coming into the team. Obviously, this is not enough for me to be spending a transfer to move away from Glasner. It's a double game week. Both Nketiah and Gehi will be back for that second fixture. And we're just going to have to hope that Crystal Palace can pull in some sort of result away at the Etihad with some of their first choice defenders missing. I think they're just going to have to score a lot of goals, and hopefully that's coming through Matera and Eze, who I am invested in for this double game week. So the assistant managers, obviously, there's not much of a decision there. We're keeping it on that moving forward. As I did mention a little bit earlier on, I am dead ending into game week 33, as I will be pulling the wild card in game week 34 in order to deal with the blanks and set up for that double in game week 36, or the potential double in game week 36, in which I'll probably be firing off my bench boost at that point, if the fixture projections do fall as we hope they will. So at this point, I currently have 2 free transfers and 7 million sitting, 6.8 million sitting in the bank ahead of game week 32. Now at the moment, I've currently got 5 doublers. I'm maxed out on Palace with Glasner, Matera and Eze. I have Isak and Livramento in the team as well. So I'm really looking just to sort out the next 2 game weeks, as I will be wildcarding away from this team. Now, last week, I was looking at Saka as a potential option. And in the video last week, I did predict that Saka would be benched for game week 31. And I was predicting about a 25 to 35 minute run out for Saka, given that he is obviously coming back to full match fitness, having a pretty hefty length on the sidelines. Now, he actually got subbed on at half time, so we got the benching right, but he only played the last 45 minutes, so I was slightly off for my minutes predictions there. But I also said in the video that I would then also expect to see Saka start in that Champions League match and play 65 to 75 minutes against Madrid. He did in fact start. He did play 74 minutes, so bang in my prediction range there. And he was actually getting subbed off for Trossard, who was benched in the Champions League. So what to do with Saka? I'm definitely bringing Saka in for game week 33, and I was looking at going from Semenyo up to Saka in game week 32 this week. But given there is another leg of the Champions League match to play against Real Madrid and Brentford in between, if there was no Champions League match after Brentford, I would expect to see Saka start yet again and probably play 75 to 85 odd minutes in that match if there was no Champions League fixture. Now, given there is a Champions League match, probably means that Saka is going to start against Brentford and play around about 65 to 75 minutes, start working on his try to start getting him back up to full match fitness and using that Brentford game in order to do that. And then I would expect that he'll probably get about another 65 to 75 minute run out in the Champions League about 3 or 4 days after that Brentford fixture. Now, the only thing that might alter this is there are reports that he was limping off the pitch in the Champions League match, which does kind of chuck the cat amongst the pigeons. He has got a flag on him in the Premier in FPL at the moment. Now, if that knock poses any sort of risk to the Champions League match, I think Saka will almost certainly be preserved for that fixture instead, especially if that injury is anything related to what he is coming back from in terms of the injury. So I haven't been able to see the Champions League match. I didn't see the challenge, and I haven't actually even seen him walking off. The highlights I did manage to catch didn't show the challenge. But even if I did see the challenge, it'd still be pretty hard to kind of guess. It would definitely be speculation as to how serious that injury is. And so, given there is a small chance of a benching for that Brentford fixture, if that injury is severe enough to keep him out, I think I might just pivot and use that buy Saka in game week 33, see what happens in the Brentford fixture, see what happens in the Champions League fixture. If he starts both, plays 65 to 75 minutes in both, then he's almost certainly going to be back for game week 33 in that starting lineup. But given I can't do that this week, and the fact that I did kind of bank a transfer last week by going for Glasner straight off the bat, I think I'm just going to use this spot to buy in an additional doubler for this game week. I mean, Newcastle, I've only got 2 assets there. I could buy another Newcastle asset to have me fully maxed out on all doublers from Palace and Newcastle. And so I think I'm going to go for a 1 week punt, use one of my 2 free transfers to bring in Murphy. Gordon is obviously not in my thinking at all, given his minutes recently, and we don't actually know what his minutes are going to be like across this double. And so I think we'll be just going for a 1 week punt on Murphy this week, which does mean I'll probably be selling Semenyo for Murphy. I'll be putting Marino on the bench. I am slightly concerned that he won't be playing up front again, given that Trossard was benched in the Champions League, meaning Trossard is probably going to start this Premier League match up front. That doesn't mean that Marino won't play 90 minutes, but it does mean he's probably not going to be playing in that number 9 position, which I did buy him for. Now, of course, I will be playing Marino regardless in game week 33, because he definitely could get some minutes up in that number 9 position. But for this game week, I think he'll be sitting on my bench at home to Brentford. He's probably going to score when he's on my bench, isn't he? So it'll be this sort of lineup heading into game week 32. We'll have Raya and Net at home to Brentford. And my triple up on Palace of Glasner, Mateta, and Eze. I'll have a triple up of Newcastle of Livramento, Isak, and Murphy in the Semenyo spot. I'll be playing Rodgers away to Southampton, because Southampton is definitely a fixture that you want to be targeting. We've got Gvardiol at the back. I'm kind of hoping that he loses his clean sheet and Palace come away with some sort of victory here. So maybe some attacking returns from Gvardiol. Kanate in defense at home to West Ham. West Ham haven't been setting the world alight at the moment, but the Liverpool defense is a little bit shaky at the back. It was interesting to see Curtis Jones playing at right back in front of Kwanzaa, with Bradley unavailable, and of course the injury to Trent Alexander-Arnold. Really goes to show that Slot does not at all rate Kwanzaa, even in that right back spot, pushing Jones back there instead, who, by the way, did not do very well in terms of his defensive duties. We'll have Salah in the midfield, Rodgers edge, as I've already talked about. The Semenyo spot will be Murphy. We've got Mamouche up front. The captaincy is currently sitting on Isak at home to Man United and Crystal Palace, with the vice captaincy on Mateta away to Man City and away to Newcastle. Now, on the captaincy, I think this game week there'll be a lot of chips in play this week. There'll be a lot of bench boosts going this game week, but there will also be a lot of triple captains in play this week, and they will almost all certainly go on Isak, unless they are all, using the triple captain as some sort of differential to try and climb some ranks. So I think the ownership for Isak is going to be pretty heavy this week. Now, I obviously want Palace to do well against Newcastle for those Glasner points. I mean, if they get a win here, it's about 18 odd points for that one fixture. So I could go all in and chuck the armband on Mateta. especially given that Nketiah is suspended for that first fixture away to Man City, and so Mateta's probably going to get 90 minutes and then another 60 to 75 minutes in that Newcastle fixture. But all things considered, Palace could still win with Isak getting a goal. With Isak getting a goal. And given I'm already taking a little bit of a punt on Glasner, I think it's probably best to hedge my bets this week and block the Isak captaincy, because, I mean, if Palace don't end up getting a result, Newcastle do come away with a win, it's almost certainly going to be Isak. And if that happens and I've missed the Glasner points and I also had the captaincy on Mateta, could absolutely destroy my rank this week. So I think I'm just going to block the Isak captaincy, be happy with the fact that I'll be maxed out on doublers, and one of those does have Glasner in there, who is a big differential, who does have 2 potential 18 pointers on the line. Glasner himself could come away with 36 points this week if Crystal Palace do scrape together 2 results. And that is pretty much the team for game week 32. So pretty quick video. But all right, good luck for the game week out there. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave us a comment to tell us what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time.